Alright guys, today I'm going to be talking about Omega Boost, which was released in 1999 for the PlayStation 1. And I sort of went into this game not really expecting too much. I had an idea of what it was going to be, a flight-based mech game, so there's no ground combat whatsoever, everything takes place in the sky. And I came out extremely surprised at how awesome this game was. First of all, it's 9 levels long. And it has a very similar gameplay system to, say, Panzer Dragoon, the Panzer Dragoon series, which is actually fitting because after I had played through the game, I decided to look up some information on it, and it actually turns out that the lead designer and programmer was a team member that worked on Panzer Dragoon 2 for the Sega Saturn, so the similarities are definitely apparent in this, which is definitely, it's a good thing though, because who wouldn't want to play a mech-based Panzer Dragoon style game? And it works really well. It's pretty simple. The game is kept pretty basic. Across the 9 different levels, you have a lock-on ability that you can use where if you don't fire your gun, you can lock on up to a varying amount of targets, and you increase the amount of targets you can lock onto by completing levels. So by the end of the game, you're locking on upwards of 16 targets at a time. And if you just tap the fire button, you fire a sort of a machine gun type of attack, which for the most part isn't really used too much in the game. There are certain bosses and enemies that it works well on, but really you're going to be locking onto enemies and killing them that way. The number one mechanic that takes a little bit of getting used to, and it kind of, at first it feels a little bit cheap, but after I actually played through this game 3.5 times, and the half part comes the first time I played it, I didn't beat it, but in the span of like 2 days, I beat this game 3 times. And it's a little short, it takes about an hour to complete. But the one gameplay mechanic that really took me by surprise is that you're constantly going to hear the word caution in this game. You're going to be alerted anytime new enemies appear on screen, you're going to hear caution. And then if you hit the L1 button, your camera will automatically swing around no matter where the enemy has come from. If it's directly behind you, above you, below you, wherever it is, you hit the button, and it'll swing the camera in the direction of that new enemy and lock you on to that enemy. At first this feels kind of weird because the camera's swinging all over the place. You're kind of used to, controlling the camera yourself, which you still can do. If you hold down the L1 button, you can control your mech sort of as if it was on rails, similar to, say, Space Harrier or something like that. But if you don't hold down the L1 button, you're sort of free to move the camera around, and you're swinging the camera, locking onto the enemies by pressing L1, and then you simply lock on and fire. And it's this whole big game of locking on and dodging, because you can also dodge enemy bullets by pressing, it's mapped to a couple of different buttons, but let's just say you press triangle and you will boost away from enemy fire. And there's also an overdrive meter which fills up by damaging enemies, which sort of lets you unleash this all-out attack on the enemies in the game. And that's basically it. Just dodge, shoot, lock on. But it's kept simple and basic, but it really, really works. And to top off the gameplay, this game is, without a doubt, possibly one of the best looking PlayStation 1 games I've seen on the console. There are some levels in here that I was in awe at how amazing it looks. The particle effects when you blow up the enemy ships, all the pieces that break up and kind of scatter into space, the explosions, the backgrounds. There's this one level in particular that, oh my god, it's so awesome. You're in this dark, like, cavernous, empty space, and there's like flares of, I guess, I don't know what it is, it's like red particles flying in the air, and there's lightning in the background, and it's really dark, and the shadows on the enemies and your character, it's just really modeled so well, and it's running at like 60 frames a second. The game looks, quite simply, amazing. I was so taken back by the presentation in this game. Music-wise, it's not what you would expect. You kind of expect like heavy techno or something like that, but they throw in like rock music and sort of like tribal music at times. It's kind of a weird arrangement of music, but it certainly fits pretty well, and they've hired some actual bands to play some of the game's like opening themes and title and end credit music and everything. So. But Omega Boost, wow, what can I say about this game? If you like sort of on-rail shooters, especially if you like Panzer Dragoon, this is definitely one you guys got to check out. I really don't have any complaints. In terms of replayability, there's a hard mode and there's a normal mode, and beating the game on either difficulty sort of unlocks these special extra missions that you can play through. The game is actually pretty challenging on normal. It's high score based, and the second that you die, I'm talking 1 life bar if you die in any of the levels, you lose your high score. So you can continue and you keep on, you can, there are limited continues, so you can lose the game and have to start all over. But the game gets definitely pretty challenging towards the end of the game, and some of the boss designs in this are absolutely awesome. One that really stands out to me is you fight this this like silent bomber, or I shouldn't say silent because it's pretty loud, but you fight like this stealth bomber plane in the air, which drops bombs when you're beneath it, and if you're above it, it gets hit by laser blast. And then another standout level is you're fighting in this spaceship battle between this armada of spaceships as they're getting attacked, and you have to dodge their fire. And oh man, I could just keep on going on about some of the designs in this game, and it's just a game that you have to play if you're into arcadey on-rail shooters, guys. This is definitely one game to check out. And as always, guys, thank you for watching.